So hello everybody, today is Wednesday the 12th of October 2022 and this is in connection with a second eviction notice that's been thrown in my letterbox on the 3rd of October saying that there will be an eviction on the 19th of October next Wednesday. So I tried to speak to my solicitor. He hasn't responded back. So I rang Edward Ellis, who's the executor on the will, to clarify my position for next Wednesday, whether we need mass publicity, whether we need people to turn up. And I'm just asking for your advice, Edward.
Well, look, you do the best you can for publicity. I can manage cases and get evidence that meets the corruption remedy proof standard, that makes it admissible evidence for the Coronation Oath Enforcement Authority. I don't have a lot of expertise with publicity. You know, I can meet the legal standard, but publicity management is something I'm not strong at.
If we were to just give a list of crimes that are being committed, right, in these proceedings, because there's an overlap.
I know the crimes that are committed. I know why they have been committed, and the reason they've been committed is when the body of the baby was taken to India and the claim was made for a death inquest, it got jurisdiction increases for the law courts and a protection fraud deal by the top Indian politicians who gave accountability denial frauds for the pharmaceutical industry in exchange for massive investment in the pharmaceutical industry in India. So the arrangement was I was made executor of the will, so I would have key witness status in all of the representation frauds against the probate estate that were needed to deliver the accountability denial frauds after Sadhana, the mother, died. So we know the whole history. We ended up getting all of the representation fraud proof. They are now stuck with confidence collapses that have been going through the system. And so it's unpredictable. There are some cases where nothing is being done because nobody wants to be responsible for signing on the decisions. But in this case, Judge Dite, who is the top civil judge in the county, Central London County Court, is one of the target judges for the dismissal process by the the Coronation Oath Enforcement Authority. So I don't know how things are going to unfold, but there are a lot of worried lawyers, judges, and a lot of worried politicians because they never expected to be in these conditions, and so it's uncharted territory.
Yeah, because they started a GCRO against me, which is on a Judge Dite has adjourned pending the other matters.
The reason he adjourned it was the Coronation Oath Enforcement Authority needs audio record proof against that is personal responsibility proof against identifiable individuals for known court frauds. So we had audio record proof got during the tenure of office of Prime Minister Mr. Johnson. Because he's gone, they now need audio record proof during the tenure of Prime Minister Miss Truss. We're in the process of getting that. So I don't know how things will unfold on Wednesday, but there's a lot of uncertainty throughout the system, and I wish you the best of luck.
Okay, thank you very much, Edward. And obviously, I want to mention that I'm the ex-aunt of Rishi Sunak right now, and he's a normal guy, and I wish him all the success in his career as a politician, and I'm sure he can do better than most politicians we've had. Number 10.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Edward. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Yeah. So Lee, so we can just carry on with this rest of it. So what happens is that usually the solicitors get bullied by Walker Morris LLP because they have so much power, and because this is all criminal territory now, we're dealing with criminal networks, and they want to see anything change from their invincibility. They've always got away with massive crimes. We have the prosecution of 7 bankers, including Scourfield and Mills and Jessica Harper. And then the FCA statement, we have the Anthony Stansfeld Thames Valley Police statement of the bankers being prosecuted, and then the FCA has allowed this to continue. We're in 2022 now, and even the bankers who were jailed, they went to Southwark Crown Court to try to reduce their almost 50 years sentences, and they failed. So this is a criminal matter. It's already got precedences. The previous prosecutions and their failure to reduce the jail sentences is a precedence that we need to apply now, and that there are 21 grounds for dismissing the claim, possession claim by Bank of Scotland trading as Halifax, part of Lloyds Banking Group, CEO Charlie Nunn, and they are just carrying on as if it doesn't matter, that there is no ledger, there is no valid loan in the disclosure. There is no proof that any loan exists, and there are all the other frauds that were produced. Evidence was produced in the court hearing on the 14th of March, and because they have this invincibility, because it doesn't matter that the bankers were jailed and for the same kinds of frauds that they're doing right now. So Lee, what do you want to say? What's your view on everything Edward has said, I've said?
Well, it's a very upsetting matter, and it's a matter of life and death, because winter is onsetting. People die of cold. If they're homeless, there are people sleeping on the streets in Hackney, and they're not being cared for. Nobody is rescuing these people, and they're just dying in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. They're being frozen. They're finding frozen dead bodies lying outside the town hall, where the mayor is sitting in comfort, drinking his champagne, listening to pleasant wine, women singing, drinking his wine. So it's an absolutely ridiculous situation. Why why isn't everybody arresting judges and lawyers and putting them in prison awaiting prosecution? Because
Well,
the
I
crime
think
is so obvious.
you see,
It's an obvious open and shut case.
we have to backtrack because we have got evidence that the courts were hijacked. So these are imposter judges, imposters who have this direct access barristers who do both. They sit as judges as well as they act in a private capacity as barristers for direct clients. So say, for example, Judge Franklin Evans, he was not on the listing. So the HMCTS does not have any civil or criminal liabilities for his behavior. And he changed the courtroom number and there was no recording. So there's no evidence that he did what he did, which is criminally cover up the banking frauds that they've already been criminally prosecuted in previously in those jail sentences.
Well, his order is the only proof we need. You know, he should go to prison for issuing an order like that.
But these orders, none of these orders are valid. These orders are not stamped, sealed, signed. They are issued way past the deadline for making an appeal. And then the Romford County Court is run by bailiffs who are not providing a name of a authorized bailiff. They're not on the bailiff register. They're not bailiffs, because bailiffs have to be registered and they have to provide a name. And none of these guys, these are imposters. These are not real bailiffs. They should all
be rounded up anyway. Whoever, whether they're genuine or just actors, they should all be rounded up and put in prison.
But this is a problem. We don't know who they are. We don't know their names. Their names are not provided.
Okay, they sit in prison until it's investigated.
But who are they? What
if it takes a year to investigate, they sit there for a year, 10 years, 100 years, it doesn't matter. They sit there in prison.
So next Wednesday, when these bailiffs come, they need to identify themselves. They need to provide their registration details. Somebody has to challenge them outside and say, what is your registration number? Show me the authority that says you can break entry, because they were holding a drill after they've been served with an application to dismiss the claim. So the judge has not yet looked at it. It's pending. Why are they proceeding with an eviction whilst the matter is in court with the judge? Because this is hijack. This is a hijack of an eviction. It's a hijack of a court. It's a total and utter fraudulent theft of a home, and this is common. This is happening every single time. It is totally extrajudicial. There is no legal, lawful process being followed. It's outright crime. So the crime number that people need to quote is CAD 3206 of the 26th of September 2022, and people need to phone the police on Wednesday, the 19th of October, before 9 a.m. to make sure, maybe 8 a.m., to give them an hour to turn up and tell them that a home is being stolen, previous attempt was made, that it's in contempt of court, and there is a CAD number already reported by Neelu Berry from 450 New North Road, IG6 3EB, that's Hainault in Essex, UK. And they need to say that the Bank of Scotland trading as Halifax directors need to be arrested. Walker Morris LLP directors need to be arrested for their actions for contempt of court. And we have to make this video public, and we want the media to turn up on next Wednesday, and we want the police to turn up and make arrests of those fake bailiffs, those enforcement officers. They're not even enforcement officers, they're just locksmiths with no name and just a bag of tools.
Yeah, that's right.
So
You see, they haven't, as you say, there's no logic in their process. It's just a complete mess. You know, a proper court would proceed logically, and the first step is to see whether or not there is a valid mortgage, and then they would rule, looking at the paperwork, they would rule that no, there is no valid mortgage, and then they would the court would issue an order against the insurance company, asking them why was there not insurance money paid against the mortgage to extinguish that debt. And that would force the insurance company to go into their records and do a proper and thorough investigation, which they have not done. They've failed in their duty. In fact, they've stolen your premiums. Your father, who made, a £50 premium payment to provide insurance against the mortgage, that all that money was stolen, in effect.
Let's just go back a few steps, Lee. When you mention about the judge, when the judge was not on the listings and he knew the case, so it wasn't that the judge didn't turn up or there was the other judge. It was pre-planned, a premeditated decision, predetermination. And so this is very common. People don't realize that this is how the courts are hijacked, and the judges are imposters. Because if he wasn't on the HMCTS listings, that judge was not sitting in a judicial capacity. So he was an imposter. Franklin Evans was an imposter on the 14th of March, 2022. And that is a criminal matter because the court was hijacked that day. So nothing he did was valid. The fact that previous judge had asked for the barrister Edward Muley to take instruction from the bank regarding the fact that the name on the land registry did not match the name on the death certificate. That is a major issue that was not dealt with by the imposter judge. And so there are 100 examples of banking frauds in this case, and nothing moves from the fact that there is no ledger to validate the loan in the first place. No ledger was produced. Every mortgage is a fraud because there is no ledger to prove it. Ever, a ledger to prove there's a valid loan has never been produced, and therefore all mortgages are a fraud and criminal. When they do possessions of mortgages, they are all criminal, have to be reported to the police. And because they are criminal, it doesn't matter if you haven't reported it from 10, 20 years ago, you can report it now and you can get a CAD number. You say, the police will try to fob you off, and then you can then do an online report, and then you have to follow it up with a phone call.
Yeah.
So
that's right. So the land registry also have a liability obligation because they've got wrongly spelt names recorded on the land registry. So, they have to provide some monetary reimbursement back to your family, because they're part of the cause of this problem.
The land registry are playing a very major role in all these banking frauds, because they allow these third parties to put charges on properties without there ever being a valid ledger. i.e. a valid loan. These third parties don't have any legal standing to invoke the land registry to put charges on your private, residence. So all of these frauds, the land registry is a big guilty party in the crimes. And the precedences of the bankers being jailed, all of those properties had been repossessed, and land registry was implicated in all of those repossessions of businesses, homes, estate agents.
Yeah, that's right.
So they work together. So you have the fake solicitor Ellen McLean, that Callum Davies of Walker Morris told me she's the solicitor, and she's not a solicitor. So now I find out it's a director called Robert Payne who is the solicitor in this matter. So now I've notified Walker Morris today that this is a criminal matter. CAD number 3206 of the 26th of September 2022, and the Walker Morris directors are liable to be arrested, as well as the Lloyds Banking Group, Bank of Scotland, Halifax directors are liable to be arrested because they have the precedences of the previous criminal prosecutions of the same bank for the same frauds. And they're carrying on as if they don't care about the regulator FCA being impotent, about the FCA being unable and incompetent to regulate the banks, frauds and crimes and thefts. So the directors have a liability, a criminal liability. Even FCA directors, I think that's probably also a private company, because everything within the corporate structure is profit-led company. It's not a charity or a non-governmental organization, is it? The FCA. Most of these regulators have become privatized. So
no, it's a failing within the system. All it does is create, the FCA just creates a ledger and it doesn't issue any remedy. It claims to issue remedy, but it's not a remedy.
I mean, for example, when those bankers were jailed, the FCA knew that about 200 billion pounds was being laundered abroad by the banks, UK banks, every year. And they only needed 3 or 4 billion to compensate these 110 businesses. And they haven't done that yet. So the FCA's fined them 45 million, which is a drop in the ocean, and reduced it, which is nothing for 200 billion a year for about 10 years.
And they don't know where the money is, or they claim to not know where the money's gone.
I don't know how anyone can spend 200 billion pound and not be noticed. What would you spend it on to hide it? Like
it hasn't been spent.
No.
Some of it has, but they're just making it up as they go along, really.
The victims of banking frauds have committed suicide. Over three dozen victims have attempted their lives, and
so that's money that should be paid to the families, really, for compensation. That's
but not
very
only did they lose their
serious.
businesses, but they also had their homes stolen as well. So they've had double thefts, and that's why they've
Yeah,
corporate manslaughter.
that's quite serious,
Yeah,
actually.
and it's very common as well, and it's still going on. That's, you know,
Very
how do people like me go through one repossession, made homeless, now second one with two murders being investigated, one of the baby Neelu Chaudhari and one of her mother Sadhna Chaudhari, because she died in extreme poverty, and that was due to the banking frauds. My late sister wouldn't have died if it wasn't for these banking frauds.
Because you're undergoing enormous distress and anxiety, you know, through 7 or 8 men coming to your door. You're just one person, an elderly person alone, and it's like an army of people who are coming to attack your home where you live and peacefully dwell. It's a shock. It's a shock to your system. It's a shock to your mind. It's a physical threat of damage to you.
But it's common. The point is that is so common that people just think, well, what do you expect? This is England. Everyone gets thrown on the streets. Everyone gets made homeless. You know, they call it, you know, an event that's inevitable. That everyone ends up dead on the cold, frozen to death on the streets. Everyone ends up like that in England because of the way that the banks and their lawyers hijack the courts. They impersonate judges, they hijack the courts, and they bring these judges from nowhere at the last minute, and they, you know, you don't realize that this has happened so many times. There's not the guy on the listings. You have to check the listings the day before. 4 o'clock, the listings go up, and then you have to check the name of the judge who's sitting. And even in the magistrates' court, they don't give you the names.
And then when you go there, it's all been changed again. So the listings are not reliable. They've got the courts are giving out misrepresentations. In other words, they're lying. They're lying to you. They're not telling you the truth.
Yeah,
you don't even know the courtroom number changes, the time changes. Like, remember you and me, we went to the Thomas More building and they changed the time by 3 hours, and they changed the floor. Originally it was on the 5th floor at courtroom 57, and then they changed it to 62.
Well, what they do is they've got the CCTVs and they're watching us. And if many people turn up for a hearing, they will adjourn it. And even when they've adjourned it, they will tell you it's adjourned, but they'll still go ahead with it because you've gone to an adjourned hearing and caught it red-handed. And I've gone to an adjourned hearing and caught it red-handed, going on while it's adjourned. So they do all of these tricks to pervert the course of justice in contempt of court. And they're hijacking the judges by doing that, because you don't know who sat. They don't tell you. When they produce an order, they don't necessarily tell you, you know, and they don't sign it and seal it and stamp it. So you don't know who's making any decisions.
Yeah.
So the liability, so these are all fraudulent instruments. All the court orders are fraudulent because they don't have an embossed seal and they're not, you know, they're not signed.
I think this conversation we've had tonight is very valuable. It highlights the core issues in the case, and I think we've covered everything quite adequately. Of course, we could go on for hours, you know, pointing out.
But I just want to say that we're not against the judges. We are against the hijacking of the courts and the judges, and we know how the hijacking is done. It is that the courts, they have the, you know, the car parks, Lee. The car parks have police vans going in the car park, and they kidnapped John Patterson from the police vans in the car parks. So the car parks in Romford County Court, again, are where the fake agents are coming in through the back door of these court buildings.
Yeah.
And the judges are in despair because they don't, it's like the NHS. In the papers today, it was about the murders of babies by this woman, Letby, and she's killed so many babies, but it took so many years for the police to stop her. You know, they said these babies were murdered over a period of about 4 or 5 years. But, you know, one baby murder, and they should take immediate action to stop any more babies. But when it gets to a dozen babies being murdered by an NHS nurse, I mean, there's something fatally flawed with the police service. There's 42 corporate manslaughters. There's something fatally flawed with the police service. And the Home Minister, Suella Braverman now, was Priti Patel, but this incompetence of the Home Minister, the Home Office,
That's right.
is what is allowing these crimes to go on. And, you know, I have the CAD number. These bailiffs should be arrested. The Walker Morris directors and the bank directors should be arrested long before then. Actually, if people can start phoning now and quoting CAD 3206 of 26th of September, so that's 260922, please phone the police and get these Walker Morris LLP directors arrested on the theft attempt from the deceased mother of the deceased baby, whose murder investigation is pending by the 18th Law Commission of India, Report 206, which will investigate all suspicious deaths of Indians abroad. Thank you.
Because basically on the 19th of October, if the locksmiths start drilling into your door and they remove the locks and force entry into your home, that's burglary. They're entering without your permission, without the court's permission.
It's contempt of court, Lee. It's contempt of court.
It's treason.
They're impersonating the judge. They're
king.
Impersonating the process of the application to dismiss the claim. This claim has not proved its validity, and therefore this claim is struck out. By law, it's struck out because they didn't prove the ledger. It's already struck out because it's pointless going to possess a property when you haven't proved a valid loan. And there are no valid loans on any properties or any possessions, and all possessions have to be reported to the police because these possessions are crimes of theft, of corporate manslaughter, and there is no expiry date to crimes. The police have to be made to make the arrests of all bank directors in the UK. Since the report of Crime Commissioner Anthony Stansfeld, Thames Valley Police, who, by the way, their website has removed all trace of his name, and they've removed his statement, and his statement is now redirecting to the main page. So apparently they are dishonorable to his genius work and his genius reports that got these prosecutions. So he is entitled to the highest level of medals, whatever.
It's his intellectual property and effort and work, and they've stolen that. And also the 2 years of prosecution against Hackney Council for their frauds and their theft. All of those court records have been deleted and removed. And that's only 3.5 years after
that happens. If the records are deleted, because you're still a living witness to those crimes, your affidavit, your signed affidavit should be the basis of the crime report to the police, the online report. And you get the CAD number and it has to be reopened. All charges on all properties are a crime. and they have to be reported to the police, and all third parties have their directors of those companies have to be arrested by the police, the Home Office, by law. The precedences of the banking fraud jail sentences, those gets everybody's possessions, home possessions, business assets frozen, all reversed by the police, by the CPS, by the Home Minister, by the Prime Minister. So Liz Truss has a mandate to ensure the remedies for all possessions, all businesses and all assets, because there is no valid ledger for any loans. Or this could be mortgages, can be private loans, credit cards, any loans. There is no ledger.
We could go on for hours.
Yeah, we'll stop now. We will stop now. Thank you very much. I'll stop now. Thanks.
I think put it under VPC and publish it, make it public.
Yeah.
Because it's a very good accountability record of what.
The 19th of October, 450 New North Road, IG6, 3EB, Hainault, Essex. You're all welcome to come. They're saying 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning. But if you can't make it, just please phone the police and quote CAD number 3206 260922. Thank you. Goodbye. Is that okay, Lee? You saying bye?
Yeah. Thank you very much for all the help and explanations. And yeah, a very good evening to everybody. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.